Well, welcome to Happy Hour with Ruth.
And Roxy. It's
Yeah.
nice to see everyone.
It is nice to see everyone. And Roxanne looks like even more like a supermodel right now. She looks like a supermodel who's also a genius and who reads a lot of books.
I don't
glasses make you look really smart, and then the rest of you is all just supermodel.
I don't know what they did to your eyes last time you were at the eye doctor, but it's good. It's good. Keep doing it.
But seriously, I get on and I'm like, oh my God, I have to change. I dropped my lunch on my shirt and look at my hair and I don't know where,
No.
all the things, right? And I get on and I look at you and it's like, why?
Okay. Last night when we were Zooming, I looked at you and I'm like, oh, she's got a nice sweater on. I don't even remember the last time I wore a nice sweater. I should try harder.
Well,
Is your
I have the best sweatshirt on.
It
now.
is. It is the best. It is the best. And I'm going to also point out to our viewers, wherever they are in the world, wherever you are in the world, our community, we've got sunshine behind us. We had to actually close our blinds because we were haloed.
To be fair, I've got Scruffy's butt and Chalupa.
Yes,
they're all there, man. Yes, but yes, we had to close blinds because there was so much sun.
And the halo is not really our brand. So
I was going to say, out of all the things that might be floating around my head, it would not be a halo. Yes. Okay. So I've moved because we got a new toy, and then we'll get into what we're drinking because my new toy is about that. But the reason I'm not in there is because my new toy is working and it was noisy. Right. So let's jump into what we're drinking.
Well, what are you drinking, Ruth?
Well, I'm drinking, although it's melting now. I'm drinking. It's called a Frosé. And
Rosé?
Frosé, yes. See, I have no words left. It's a Frosé, and it's rosé wine and some limeade because you need to have it a bit sweet for this machine to work for some reason. I don't know. And some pineapple juice, and some simple syrup because it was a bit tart, and some more simple syrup for Paul because it's way too tart for him. But I want you to notice, Roxanne, I have a straw here for you.
Aww.
I have our colors. I have your pink straw.
I see it.
So yes, but it is lovely. Good, and it's a nice light summery drink.
That sounds fun. And yes, I've seen images of Ruth's new toy. It's just like, I have memories of going into Woolworths I think the gas station stores still have them.
7-Eleven used to have them.
Yeah, 7-Eleven. Okay. It's a smoothie machine. But it's what there must be a name for that. It's the old-fashioned kind because you had one before. Yeah. Not like this.
Well, that was that was the Jimmy Buffett margarita maker.
I just realized the word that I was looking for that thing. It's one of those machines that looks like it has a little mini auger in it.
Yes, that's right.
Because it goes around like that.
It's a Slurpee machine. A proper, I actually got Paul to pick up some root beer. And at one point, I'm just going to make a root beer, no alcohol, just a root beer Slurpee.
Yum. Yum.
It's pretty cool.
I love root beer.
Yeah.
And I am drinking basic New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Oyster Bay. Delicious and reliable, 100% reliable.
And a nod to summer coming.
Right? And a nod to summer, yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah. Paul's very seriously over there stirring his Frosé. So it'll be very interesting. We'll have to see what he says, 1 thumb up or 2 thumbs up or no thumbs up.
So, yeah. Sounds like he might not be 100% convinced.
Yeah. Okay. A thumbs up, but is it too tart for you there, buddy? There's simple syrup on this. Who doesn't like citrus?
Yeah. I got a partner with a real sweet tooth also, so I understand.
Right. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
So what will we talk about today, Roxanne? I think we have something in mind.
We always have something in mind.
A big chug of wine before I just get into it.
Did a big slug. Here's how you do it, folks.
Yeah.
I think today we're going to talk about boundaries. And I think this is one of those evergreen topics that we could discuss with anybody, anytime, basically any decade.
Yeah.
Because it's something that a lot of us struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's especially, at this very time, and sort of leading from what we talked about the last episode, where it's like, how do you live when the world's on fire? How do you live a reasonable, typical is not even right, but how do you live a life that's not insane when the world's on fire? And this is also, so how do you manage your boundaries and protect your peace without either, becoming, for me, it would be pulling into myself and not engaging because it's like it's all too hard, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe becoming a bitch, which is easy when you start, if you're feeling the pressure of the world, and that would be financials, right? The economy. It's you know
Existential dread.
but that's, and every time you turn around, and also, you feel this great joy because we're working on our garden and doing some cool stuff, and then you feel guilty for feeling the joy,
Mm-hmm.
and that manifests with some negative output sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're punishing yourself, so you get, cranky at your husband or your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I'm probably crankier at my husband than I'm ever at my dog. But also, like, how do you manage that, and how do you manage it without fully pulling back? Because we all need to do what we can in this world to make the world a better place,
Mm-hmm.
but without killing yourself. Because it feels like there's two extremes. You pull way back in and become this recluse that doesn't deal with anything and only watches reruns, or you're way out there and you're like running on empty, and you're so stressed and it's so awful that you're hard to deal with,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. So I think you're talking about setting boundaries about input, right? Like setting boundaries about how much time you allow the world to intrude on
Yeah,
your peace,
yeah,
and or other people that have a similar effect on you, right? I
yeah.
have
No, and that's just it. And I think that's exactly, it's what's coming in at you that you can control,
mm-hmm.
right? So that goes also to relationships and to
Mm-hmm.
world events, because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to doom scroll 24 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the other side is, then other stuff layers on top, people's expectations of you, perhaps over expectations,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps
Mm-hmm.
unreasonable. Or is it the other side where you feel like the world doesn't have enough kindness or empathy or compassion, so you drive yourself. Like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
have to set boundaries for myself sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you've already donated enough. You can't put another charity on your credit card.
How
Like
do
stuff
you
like that.
how do you think people learn those skills? Like the skill of I have a something that I noted down here because I like this a lot. A lot of people in well, and I'm so I should preface this when as we're talking about boundaries, and I think boundaries are different for different people, and the idea of
Yep.
setting up boundaries. So a boundary is something that protects you while allowing you access to others,
Right.
other people, other things.
Right.
Um, and it's different for people who have differing levels of power, because it's easy to set a boundary when you have all the power.
Yes.
It's really hard to set a boundary when you have no power.
Yep. Actually,
So
that's a good point.
somewhere in between there
Yeah.
is where most of us fall. But if we're women raised in the patriarchal society that we find ourselves in,
Yeah.
some of us find that more difficult, and particularly people in what is often called high control, high demand religions, and that just means religions that are based on they have a strong emphasis on obedience, self-sacrifice, and doing the right thing,
Yeah.
um, with expectations on how you should live and think.
Yeah.
So that's and to be clear, this is not about dunking on faith or anything. This is there's so many great things
It's all
about
in
religious
general,
communities.
right?
Yeah,
Like, but I
but you
can
learn
say,
different things. Yeah.
but that's just it. And I could take sort of that and put it over the work-life balance and setting boundaries, because and you would know this as an entrepreneur, you say yes,
Mhm.
right? Like, and we've started to come along to the point of, because you didn't get to something in the right timeline does not make it um, an emergency for me, right? Unless, you have set up the relationship that way, and that's why you bring people in. But more and more for us, we're starting to look at, and it's like, if we just keep picking up all the pieces for and some clients, as much as you love them, do it over and over again, right? Because they can. And so it's part of that too. It's like, you have to change your personal belief system almost, right? To be able to say, no, I matter here too,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like, and I think that's just it. It's like, because it isn't just faith-based, or it isn't just career-based,
Mhm.
right? It
Mhm.
isn't just family-based. it crosses all of these things. And for me anyway, at the end of the day, I started to realize when I felt like my boundaries were being pushed or exploited or ignored, there was one common denominator, and it was me,
Mm.
right?
So you were letting it happen.
But that's just it, or at least not stopping it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Is I hope I don't encourage it, but there's parts where I do. Right? I mean, I even, one of the things, we lived on the Sunshine Coast, and I do like to cook, and I like to have people over, and I do the things. But I remember somebody messaging us from being on the ferry, coming to see us, and putting in their order of what food they wanted, and also saying, "Oh, by the way, we ran into these
Mm.
friends of ours, and we're bringing them with us for the weekend." And that's when I realized I had been far too accommodating, right?
Wow. Wow.
And so, it's like, completely in my mind, I would never ask that of anyone. So way out of line by them. But also, I had to ask myself the question: what what allowed them to think that would be even a tiny bit reasonable to say or ask?
See, that
Right?
makes me wonder what, if any, or what boundaries around social behavior they were taught,
Well, but
right?
that's part of
Because
it, right?
there's other people, and there's cultural differences here too, right? So
Right,
some people are very much. We've had people show up to parties who weren't invited, and we're like, how did you even find out about it? Like, I don't even
right,
understand. But it's like, oh no, we knew through mutual acquaintances or whatever, and of course we would all come together to celebrate. That's just what we do.
right.
And those, I mean, I seem to have learned, whether it was deliberate or not, or it's just my personality, pretty strong boundaries about social interactions. And I'm much more open to that now, and much more or
Right,
less concerned about,
right,
the state of my house or the state of my food or
right.
whatever. Like, I'm much more
Yeah,
comfortable having people over. But for years, that was a real problem for me. I'm like, this is my safe place, and I can't have anyone come in here,
yeah.
and I need a lot of preparation before that's okay with me.
And then you met me, and I just kept coming over.
You did. It was good. But it makes me think about, so my youngest grandchild is 14 months now, I think. And I think about those stages, from 1 to, I don't know, 5, in there, where they're literally learning boundaries, and they
Right,
start in that time period. They usually start saying no, and they
right.
start, I don't want my diaper changed. I don't want to put my clothes on. And they're learning who they are. So here's the little defining idea that I really liked. A lot of people, particularly in the systems I was talking about, are
Yeah.
taught to be very good at self-denial before they've ever
Oh,
learned how to develop a healthy sense of self. So they're taught to deny before they even know who they are.
that's
Because who's
interesting, hey?
figured out, no one's figured out who they are. You do it gradually, but
Yeah,
you've got some of the clues by,
yeah,
5, a few more by 12, a few more by 21, and, but then you keep developing that. So
right,
if the idea of setting, like if a parent at 2 says, when they're 2 says, no, don't care what you want, this is what's happening. And it's not like you let your 2-year-old decide important things, but
right.
that's when you start, doing things like, well, do you want this or this? Give
Yeah,
you a choice, allow you
right,
to have some power,
right,
because they're
right,
just discovering that they don't have any power.
right.
And if
That's
you
interesting.
want to teach kids to have boundaries, you have to let them have reasonable power for their
Yeah,
skills and age limit,
yeah, right.
and
Yeah,
then
that makes sense, right? Like,
mm,
relevant power within the context of, right?
yeah.
But it's why they don't why there's a drinking age, why there's
Mhm.
where you get your license, why you don't get to vote until a
Yeah.
certain age,
Yeah.
right? Because that's all power, right?
Mhm.
And think about it. So that's interesting, because it was just recently, and I just got it, so I haven't read it yet, but I bought a book called Defy. And it's
The what?
exactly Defy. It's called Defy. The
Oh,
author is
defy. Okay.
yeah, by Sunita Saw, and it's about it's about, you know, we're anxious and unsure of what to do, whether confronting justice on a social scale or facing something closer to home. And it's like, how often have you wanted to object, disagree, or opt out of something, but ended up swallowing your words, shaking your head, and just going along,
Mhm.
right? And that's just it. And for me, I mean, I grew up in a reasonably, for the time, progressive family, but the parents were the boss, and
Mhm.
and you didn't defy authority.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are definite things, like my parents wouldn't question a doctor about, are you sure?
Right.
Right?
That's
And
very much a generational thing.
yeah, and how do you take care of your own boundaries when you're raised again? So it's like, so one of the things that got challenged, right? The sports coach, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
play sports, and then you find out, and again, not all, but like but all of a sudden you find out this person is a problem with children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the priest, where you're not supposed to, it's a priest or a preacher or who would minister. And it's like all these things we were taught, when in fact we should have been taught to question everything.
When children are taught to obey authority without question, and when
Yeah.
their life depends on it, and when I say it like that, that sounds dramatic, but in fact, every 2-year-old knows on some level, every 5-year-old knows,
Yeah.
every 7-year-old knows on some level, they
Yeah.
can't survive without their parents, right?
Hmm.
So it is a matter of life and death to the kid,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
To obey the parents so that they stay living in the home that
Yeah.
is safe for them, however safe
Yeah.
that is, right? That's what they
Yeah.
want. So
But it is really interesting, and it's one of those where there are parts of it that make sense.
mhm.
I am still you get to customs or to security in an airport, and I am definitely a rule follower. I would never defy them, but I know people that they get pulled over by an officer, and it's like, why are you pulling me over? Right? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You know what I mean? But their boundaries are, just because you're wearing a uniform doesn't mean you have authority over me. If I've broken the law, you might, but I haven't.
Right.
Right?
Right. And yeah, and the whole I mean, we're not even getting into the whole idea of scams and people who
What? But
impersonate,
oh God, yeah.
right? That's
But that's just it. But that's what causes some of those problems, right?
mhm.
Because our boundaries can make us naive,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
our
Or a
lack of
lack of
boundaries.
boundaries.
Yeah.
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 And here's another thing that I hadn't really thought of in this way is if the idea of having needs is equated with the idea of being selfish,
Right.
then that becomes a problem. It's difficult then to express what
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
taught to put others first all the time, and then eventually your own needs are optional. It's like, oh, I guess I don't actually know that. And if I do something that satisfies something that I need, you feel like you've committed a small moral crime. It's like,
Yep.
ooh, I did something bad here. Instead of, this is an appropriate thing. I needed to protect this,
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
then I
And but
think, well,
it'd
then
be
I think like,
interesting to, oh, sorry.
well, then I think just no matter so many women, no wonder so many women have issues with sleeping and anxiety.
Yep.
Like we were all brought up this way, right?
Yeah.
And who is it that, I mean, in our parents' generation, it was the Valium
Yeah.
prescriptions, I think, and in our generation, it's Prozac and therapy. You know,
Yep. Yep. But well, and it was, I mean, when you think about, sort of back then, it was the two martini happy hour. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Right? And but the flip side to that is also, I mean, add people pleasing into it, which is a
Mhm.
whole other kind of, because you're hungry for approval for
Mhm.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
But then you look at, and then I think generations after us are a little bit better at it, because
Oh, I think so too.
I think they'll say, you need, let's say it's I need you to work on your day off, and they'll say no. Would have
Mhm.
never occurred to me to say no.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. Well, and as business owners, we've seen that the
Yeah.
difference in the generations of staff that we had 25 or 30 years ago, it like they would work like
Yeah.
70 hours a week. They would come in on weekends, they would do their thing. And I mean, now that even the doctors are like, no, I'm gonna go home and spend time with my kid now. I don't work long days like that. I don't do that. I don't do I their days are defined by how much stress
Yeah.
is going to happen to them. And it sucks as an owner
Yeah.
being like, oh, I have to hire people in now. But on the other hand, it's
It's
just
healthy as a human.
it's way better as a human.
Yeah.
And we're not owners anymore. So who cares?
But also, it makes the world a better place when we all have to live
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like instead of expecting somebody to do it, we've always tried really hard when somebody, if it, and part of it is it's the nature of our work. You know, we've done commissions together. It's chaos and it's all the time for 3 months.
Yeah.
But then it's not, and you know, and you work to set what the requirements are clearly, but then you also work to keep morale up. And when it's over, it's like, here's why we get to celebrate, right? It's a little bit different, but the other side of it is, I think those expectations are not healthy, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those where you have to say, we can't do it like this. Now for us, it's a little different because there's like laws around what has to be done. And if you're part of that team, you understand it. But the flip side of it is like, maybe the laws need to change.
Well, that's a good point. And it's different if you are pushing yourself a certain way. If you want to do something, and I got to say, like, you guys are really good. I'm on the team, but you guys are really good about expectations and deadlines and guidelines about how to do stuff. So I totally understand the idea of feast or famine kind of mentality, right?
But also, when you think about that, everyone on our team is 40 and above.
Right. Yes.
So if we had a younger comms person on, it would be interesting to see what the dynamic is.
It would be.
Right. And that's, but the other thing is like, you know, this is just the nature of what these were. And you know, our boundary could be, we say no to it, but like, I'm fascinated by this kind of work.
Yeah, me too.
So, but that's just it. So we make a choice to do it. So to me, that's not crossing boundaries. We've made a choice because it fulfills part of our purpose.
Right? Well, and it's also got an end point.
Yeah.
It's got a very clearly defined end point. So it's like, no, I'm going to do this for, I mean, the one year I wasn't popular in the family because of it, but we worked through Christmas pretty much. Right. And I was, okay, this is going to be over. This is going to be over in a few weeks. It's only now that's crazy. And we got to see this through the end. And I was fascinated with the work. That was fine. Because it's not always like this. So, but
that's just it. And the flip side is we made a choice to say yes.
Totally.
So it wasn't that. I mean, there might have been some days when it was like, yeah, I don't think we said yes to this, but you know, we made a choice early on.
I'm editing French. What? I don't even speak French.
But that's exactly like. But it is like the more I think about it, the more it's, and it could just be boundaries of, you know, we sort of have we have. In our house, we have a rule, especially now because our house is smaller. Guests, unless there's a reason and they're coming from far, right? Guests can come and stay for no more than 3 nights, and even 3 is a lot.
3 nights,
right?
Ooh,
right.
You're
well, except Roxanne, you could come for like a month, but like you know what I mean. And most people want to come for 1 or maybe 2. Paul's family, because they come from farther, but they don't tend to stay more than 3. And certainly, this house is too small to host people for more than 3. But that became a thing. Because it's easy when you have, and we've always kind of lived in interesting vacation-y places. And it's easier for somebody to come and say, oh, I'm going to come for a week, or I'm going to come for 2 weeks. And it's like, I completely understand that. But if we were self-sufficient and we had an empty, you know, rental, that's one thing. But we have things we have to do. And you have those boundaries.
And even if you are, so, you know, like you guys are still working pretty much full time, our work has tapered down dramatically. Ray likes to talk about how, you know, oh, we're retired, we can do whatever we want. I'm like, hold on, buddy. I still got some deadlines to deal with here. But the point is, even if you are retired, like, wow, your days fill up fast. And somebody else's holiday dates may not be the time that you've chosen to take time off of your regularly required tasks.
And you can't, and that's just it. And you can't, because, and it's like for those, and it would be different if it was you or there are others, right, that would get it. But for a person who hasn't had this kind of a life, this kind of a career, it's like, oh, but we won't interrupt you. And it's like, but you will. Right? Like, it's just, that's just how it, like, you're going to be like, oh, how do you get here? Oh, can I borrow the Jeep? Oh, what are you doing? Why don't you come have a beer? And it's all out of good intentions.
Of course.
But it's like, you know, that wasn't our contract.
Well, right. And you're sitting right now in a place where you often do a lot of work.
Yeah.
So how do you hide from your guests if you're sitting there and they're coming out of the room? I want to make my face go all the way horizontal, but I don't think it's going to work. I don't
All the
do
way
enough.
horizontal? Right, but
I
that,
don't do
no,
enough
that's
yoga.
exactly. But I also think it's like, so, but then what's the difference then? It's like, what does, like, one of the things, what does protecting your peace even mean? And by peace, it's like,
Mhm.
I I no longer let myself doom scroll before going to sleep because that's no good.
Mm.
So that's
Mhm.
protecting my peace.
Mhm.
However, is protecting, would I go too far? Like, I get a panicky feeling if I don't know what, at least some news that day, because I'm worried something's going on and like
Mhm.
it's really bad and I should be doing something to
Well, it's
protect the
not,
people
I
I
mean,
love.
yeah, I mean that's how you frame it, but I see it as, your background is journalism. Of course, this is what you're going to be watching. And politics has never been more on fire than it
Yeah.
is right now. So of course you're
So
going to be
right.
watching. So
Yeah.
then I think you're right. It doesn't affect your work per se,
Yeah.
but it affects it, but it might.
Yes.
It might, and
Yeah.
and it is part of your identity and part of who you are. So then it's just you and your internal boundaries.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
then that's just it. It comes to me, but I have to just say one more thing about this book, and I'm hoping to start to read it soon. But one of the things they said from this book, you're going to learn how to, a whole bunch of stuff, and then decode your body signals so that it's time to defy.
Ooh.
Right. So that's interesting to me. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
rehearse for challenging situations and get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, that language,
Right.
get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right. And there's my dog. But teach kids the difference between being good or being obedient and or doing the right thing. Right. Like, what are those things?
Yeah. That's completely connected to, some of my notes here too. Guilt as a compass.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to do this because I guess I should. I'll feel guilty if I don't do it. Well, does that mean that you've been trained to think a certain way, but you don't actually want to do it? Like to
Yep.
actually figure out your own thing,
Right.
your own motivations, your
Right.
own, beliefs and desires. That's a really challenging thing. But if you're doing it out of guilt, well,
Right.
that's not true.
Right.
So,
Right.
it takes away, like our original premise was agency. Like you need to be able
Yep.
to do what you want to do, live how you want to live. I have another one here. This is a little more in the interpersonal side of it, but I think that's where boundaries become really real for many of us. And it's that where some of us are taught that love equals
Right.
unlimited access. And if we believe that, then we are possibly vulnerable to somebody abusing that because, of course, we love people. But that doesn't mean that if something happens, you need to continue to allow them access to you. You can say, oh, okay, I didn't enjoy that conversation or we disagree on this thing. So we're not going to talk about this thing
Yeah.
together because I love you, but I don't agree with you and I don't want to have this conflict.
And this doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and for me, there's this added layer of I'm really interested in different opinions,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
opposing opinions,
Mm-hmm.
as long as they're based in fact. Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
for me, after that, it's like, but we're not actually having a conversation. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me your beliefs. You're not telling me you haven't, these are beliefs, not facts.
Right.
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 It's an opinion. It's not a position.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will discuss. I was going to say argue, but boundaries, man. But to the death, somebody who can make me stop and go, huh? I never saw it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody's going to spout bullshit, it's like, yeah, we're done, right? I'm not because you can't. It's like talking to a drunk, right? You're
Right.
never going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that is that's something that I think a lot of us face is, here's a conversation I want to go to. And I think between COVID and the current US administration, this has come to a head for a lot of people right now because conversations that once may have been, oh yeah, the price of eggs, blah, blah, whatever, kind of casual conversation and you
Yep.
vote how you vote and nobody really worries too much about it. Now it matters.
Because
And
it
there's so
wasn't
many
an
things that feed into it.
Say it,
Existential.
existential. I can never say that word. but it wasn't a threat to somebody's freedoms or their rights.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
for me, that's the challenge. I can, big government, small government, how you fund education, whether you fund the arts, I can deal with all of that. But it's like, well, we're not funding the arts because male ballet dancers are gay. And it's like, okay, first of all, not a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, and so
Mm-hmm.
you can't have a discuss, like you think about debate club and how rewarding that is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the complete opposite when you're talking to
Yeah.
somebody whose opinions are about others being lesser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or them being better.
Or
Right.
when they use their measuring stick or their determinator of truth as something that isn't a fact.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I believe this, therefore it's true. Well, you believe it, but that doesn't mean it's true.
That doesn't make it true.
Those things don't go together. So there is no point in then having
And that's
that. So
where
that's
boundaries are a thing.
yeah.
And to be able to still care about somebody who has very different beliefs, I think is a very strong form of love,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say, pretty different here, pretty big gap. However, I love you, so we're going to talk about, goats on a roof.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
or soccer or
Yeah.
the Blue Jays, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is because, and I think that's a bigger form of love, because you're setting a boundary, but you're also not cutting them out, right? Which kind of goes a little bit back to becoming the hermit, because it would be easy to go, nope, 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 and be very black and white about the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And it makes me, like I've thought a lot about as we, news trickles out about the Epstein files and that stuff, which I really try hard not to think about, but it gets in your brain.
Yeah.
And I think about the young women or girls that are brought up in cultures that don't teach them autonomy, don't teach them about sex, don't teach them about physical boundaries that they are allowed to hold. Often, I think the message gets sent, and this applies to women who are in abusive relationships too, is forgiveness is equated with, or it's weaponized, right?
Yeah.
So again, with the love equals unlimited access. If you're told that, well, you love him unlimited, and now he has to be allowed to come back into your life. If you're told, well, you said you forgave him, therefore you must let him back into your life, and he said he was sorry, and therefore you have to forgive him.
Right.
And yet that is not what we know how behavior changes. That is not. Right. That puts her in a continued difficult, dangerous position.
Right. And it's very black and white.
Very black and white, very binary.
Right? And so that just seems like, as we were researching this and just talking about it, it feels like I'm having this sort of little aha moment of how black and white, not all, some boundaries have to be black and white, but not all boundaries do. And that kind of thing. Like I have an absolute thing. Hit me once, I'm gone. Right. Like, and it's because of past history, right? Okay. Where I wasn't gone. And so it's also one of those things where it's, but there's other stuff where it's like, oh, well, and then you let it go. But it comes back and claws at you if it's a value boundary, right? Like, lots of people didn't grow up with parents and their friends like I, where it was always like, if you go to somebody's dinner, it's like rent a party. You got to bring flowers, you got to bring something, and you got to do this. So you can't expect others to do that, right? So I've learned growing up, it's like, oh, we're the ones that aren't typical, right? You know what I mean? It's like, so I've realized that.
You are the ones who are not typical.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, no, but the other side of that is like, there are boundaries where it's like that person who said, oh, we're on our way, and hey, tomorrow for breakfast, could you make, and everything they said was like, and my side of it was, I kept putting things up on social media of all the stuff I made, right? So you're kind of going, here, let me dangle this, but when somebody does that, it's like, oh, I feel not taken for granted, maybe used. Right? You know what I mean? And so it goes back to a values thing, right?
And it could be, when I hear that, that's interesting, because it would never occur to me to, see something and then say to, well, I would with you. I'd be like,
I
oh,
was going
look
to
at
say, but
that
you
post.
could.
I want that, right?
You could,
But
see,
but
but you have earned that,
right, sure,
right?
sure. But I think some people
Because
may
I say
also
baklava and sourdough and focaccia to you a lot, man.
you do, it's true. But I think that I lost my train of thought. Whew, crashed.
Oh,
Crashed.
dang, it'll come
What?
back.
Yeah, it'll come back.
But I think that's a little bit of a good one because I will do anything if I think it's going to delight somebody
Mhm.
until it's demanded or expected without appreciation.
Right. Oh,
Right.
that's where I was going to go. I was
Yeah.
going to talk about how for some people that may be a communication thing. Like they might sort of be looking at that and thinking, "Oh, great, she does this all the time, and so I'm just going to say that, that sounds great." And perhaps they're not thinking, I'm just guessing, I'm just
Yeah.
speculating. Maybe they don't understand how it's coming across to you,
Right.
right?
Which is absolutely fair, right?
Yeah.
And I do. I think but see, we're communicators, so we think about how it lands.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. But I think that's the communication of that goes back to who's responsible for what side of the boundary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could say
Mm-hmm.
it would be easy to say, like, for example, you and I talked a few podcasts ago, and I was making a carrot cake for our friend Terry because she loves carrot cake. And you're like, oh, could you make it easier and do this? And it was like, no. Terry gets a carrot cake, right? And so that was that, and Terry didn't ask for it. I had offered, right? But that was definitely a boundary I had control of, and I was willing to shift over, you know what I mean? Because I love her, and because she's always so delighted by and appreciative, right? So you do kind of that, and then there's others where they come and they eat, and and it's whatever. And there's a part of me that goes back to the bitchy side of boundaries. Then I start going, the next time they come, we're going to order pizza, right?
Well, and that's another like you and I both really value good food. We value the time that's put into it, and we value the connection that happens over it. But not everyone is that way. Some people were raised.
Everybody cares about food.
Not everyone cares about food. Some people are all about, I got to lose weight, or can't eat gluten, or can't do this.
Or some are like, there's a whole thing. It's like you live to eat or you eat to live.
Right.
And some people just don't have, they just don't have that interest in it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you said, hey, do you want to try this new thing? They'd be like,
why? Why?
Yeah.
I already know what I like.
Yeah.
Like, well, or in the case of my husband Ray, who can't smell.
Right.
For him, the flavor of food is affected by that. So he's not as interested in food, and he has to be really cautious about particularly things with a lot of spice in it, because it takes away what ability he has to appreciate it. So,
but to give him credit, he always ensures that he shows appreciation. Right.
He is really good about that.
He's very good at that. Right. And I think, and that's really all you need, because it's not a like, hey, come worship me because I can make a carrot cake. Right.
I worship you because of your carrot cake.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But the other side of that is also it's the, hey, you put some effort into this.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's how I show love. Right. Because I'm not hugging you, man.
Right? You hug me, I make you do it.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
Now you're looking at my dog's butt.
Oh, I heard you saying you're not hugging her.
And Paul just walked in as I was like, I'm not hugging people, man. But you know what I mean? Like, I think there's that balance there. And I think these are good, easy, non-threatening examples of boundaries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Because then there's bigger boundaries of, don't bring your anti whatever it is, right? And anti-Semitic, anti LGBTQ,
well, okay,
whatever,
I love how there's ways of identifying your boundaries without saying a single thing. And we've talked about this before. This is why I post things on social media about that's friendly to the LGBTQA whatever.
But that's
crowd.
Exactly.
Because I just want it out there that I support them, right? I don't have to say that anywhere. I don't have to have it in my house.
Right? Like, that's just it. Like,
I just want it to be known. Yeah. Yeah. I just
Yeah.
want it to be known you're not going to get any criticism or weird vibe here.
Or and the flip side, like I have a sign that my friend Randy and
That's exactly
her
what I
sons,
was
right?
thinking of when I started this. Yeah.
But that's just it. And I'll take a picture of it. But she I saw it, she had it, and she had done it. She had made one for her house, and I was like, I really need one, and then magically it appeared because Randy's magical. But the other side of it is like, so for anybody coming in, like we're in a new neighborhood, and if somebody's going to come in and without me saying a word, that's a pretty strong message.
Exactly. So you've put that boundary there. It's a boundary and it's also a gateway, right?
Yep.
Because it's a boundary for people who are going to have homophobic whatever tendencies. They know they're going to know they shouldn't say that here. They shouldn't express that here.
But they can.
And
But,
for
they make you sorry.
exactly. It's going to be fun. We're going to have some fireworks.
Yeah.
But to anybody within that community, they know that this is a place where
thing, right?
you're going to be treated like a person.
I think I remember you telling me, and I don't know what it was. I think you had a pillow that said something, and you had a friend of one of your daughters.
I know what you're
right?
talking about.
Yeah, right. Said something about, I didn't realize that you were clearly an ally.
I packed it. It's a pillow that's got a bunch of dogs in different clothing. You made me buy it. We were at Winners together, and you're like, you should buy that. And I looked at it and I went, yeah, I should. And I wasn't even thinking that at the time. I'm just like, I like all these dogs in outfits, but all their outfits were rainbow outfits.
Right.
And so I had that, out on my couch, and one of my daughter's friends came over and she's like, I didn't realize she was such an ally. And I think they were kind of laughing because they figured I didn't know what it meant.
Right.
I may be not giving them enough credit right there, but
what's that? The unwitting ally.
Yes, the unwitting ally. But I actually, anyway, I am an ally. So,
but that's just it.
But those are the little things, like, those are the easy ways to set a boundary.
But that's exactly, and it's a positive boundary then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not a, don't talk to me about that. It's like, here's my value, right? Because then the onus is on the person who wants to come at that value.
Well, exactly.
Right?
And you know what? It may or may not be recognized. It may not be recognized by the people to whom it doesn't matter, but it will be recognized by the people to whom it does matter, right? Yeah. Dogs in dresses, dogs in rainbow dresses. Who cares about that? I like dogs. I like humor. I like dresses. All the things, I like the rainbow.
I don't know. There's a whole thing out there on the internet, of course, but there's a whole thing out there about certain religions fighting to take control back of a rainbow.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Colors, right?
For sure.
And the thing is, to me, it's kind of like, put rainbows anywhere. I mean, and I think the people that, are in this middle where it's like, just live your life and, whatever, wouldn't maybe notice.
Yeah.
But the allies notice, and those who are being targeted and who just want welcoming spaces. Yeah. And I think the haters notice.
You're right. You're right. The haters will notice too. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think most of the world lives in that middle ground.
Yeah.
But so that's when it becomes important, so people know they have a safe space. But it is, and I think that it's a good point. There are positive boundaries that you're communicating, and then that there are other boundaries that have to be clearly set, because either somebody's not listening, or in my case, I've allowed them to be crossed.
Right.
Too many times, right? Yeah. And that's culture change for people. If you're going to put boundaries down, you have to give them some grace that you're changing things because you've become somebody different.
That's a really, really good point. If you have, especially for people who have grown up with poor boundaries or uncertain about how to set boundaries or a lot of boundary violations, once you do start setting those up and maintaining them, it is very difficult on the people who are used to violating them.
Yeah.
And that is where it's really,
it becomes culture change, right?
It's absolutely culture change. Yeah.
Completely freak out people because it's like, who have you become?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
It changes the relationship. And that's where, you set the message that I love you, I care about you, this relationship's important to me. And this is something I'm not prepared to discuss, or this is a thing I'm not prepared to do, or
engage, or
whatever. This topic is off the table.
Yeah. Or here's the line, and there's love all around it, but it's a line. Like the line. Don't misunderstand me that I'm saying this with love.
Yeah.
It's because it's a line, and that's a confusing message for some.
Yes.
Right?
It is, and it's there's a term that I just learned called extinction burst.
Oh,
Have you heard that one before?
no, tell me about this.
It's the idea that just before a thing, I guess extinction is kind of, the idea of something disappearing, right? Just before something disappears, the entity, organism, animal, whatever, is going to make a concerted effort to try to make it work. Like try again, try again. Oh, it's almost, we got it. We'll just go from this angle. So in terms of boundaries, someone who has received a boundary or a message about a boundary or has been told something doesn't work anymore, they may fight. They may fight that.
The entire fascist administration in the US, right, is based on old white guy, white supremacy,
Yeah.
Sexist, homophobic, crap, because the world is changing.
The world is changing and they don't know what to do with that.
Right. And it angers them because which I have to say, every time somebody's saying something about, well, the white person can't be a minority, and it's like, why are minorities treated poorly? Why do you care? Right? It's like, come on, man. Like you're treating people like that's just it. And I can see the extinction burst there, and look at how hard they're fighting. I mean, holy man.
Yeah. I have a funny story about that. Before, none of our pets have ever liked each other except for these two that we have now. Luna and Neo love each other. And the first cats that we ever had, Simon and Cody, they loved each other. They would sleep together, groom each other, all that. Oh. And when Simon was sick and we knew he was dying and he's like getting thinner and thinner, he is grooming Cody, and then he's like not just grooming him, he wants a closer relationship. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like extinction burst. I'm neutered, I'm dying, but I'm going to still try and procreate because I can.
I have a dog that's always done that, but appears to be like, he has this lovely dog he sees in the magic forest, and every time he tries hard with everybody, but he really tries hard. And this dog is 4 times the size of him, right? He's not going to get up there. But he tries, man, and he's 14, right? And it's like, I can see that. Yeah, poor old Chalupa, but
he's had some boundaries violated himself.
Yes, no, that's a fair thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and these are sort of the notes, is how do you protect your peace by setting boundaries when setting the boundary disturbs your peace?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. So I had, I actually was talking with my artificial brain, my artificial. Sometimes I ask questions of humans, and sometimes I ask questions of machines, and it reminded me of something that I learned in therapy years and years ago, but I've forgotten it. This is nothing new. We all know this. It was like, put a hand on your chest, a hand on your stomach. Breathe in for a count of 4 and out for a count of 6, and do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, whatever. And then look for 5 things that you can see around you.
Yeah.
4 things that you can touch.
Yeah.
3 things
that's an anxiety thing, I think, too.
Yeah. And a ground, like it brings you, because when we're dealing with a boundary that's difficult to set or maintain, something like that, it can put us into a really terrified child state, right? And you're talking panic attack state. You know what I mean? Completely.
Like not just, this is stressy. This is like my heart's going to burst.
Curl up in a ball stuff. Yeah. And those sorts of things remind you of where you are, where your body is. You are here. You're not in that place that you were before as a child, scared, right? You're not there anymore. You're here. And I was like, oh yeah, that's super good advice. Super good advice. Because you're absolutely right. Like setting a boundary and then maintaining that boundary can, because it's new behavior for many of us, right? Can be a panic attack inducing thing.
But and the other side of that, I might even like it. I don't mind setting boundaries when others are under attack, right? Like, stepping in, I briefly stepped in. It was quite a while ago, but before the Trump administration, because I was in the U.S. But I think it was in between Trump and Biden, like somewhere.
Okay.
But and I stepped in because there was some guy, like you could tell he was harassing these clearly Hispanic, probably Mexican people, right? And we were in a US, like it was a layover, and I went over and stood, and then I leaned down and started to talk to the woman because there was this big guy in a hat. He had like a Trump T-shirt on, and he kept trying to leave his bag with them,
No.
right, and go off somewhere. And it was like I wasn't going to let that happen. Now I was nervous, but I had less problem doing that than I might say to somebody, "I'm sorry, you can't stay here for 5 nights," right? Because it's easier for me to protect others, right? Like I could see that their boundaries, like it was obvious their boundaries,
Yeah.
and also it felt like it could become something more, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it was like this guy was a bully and he was picking on brown people because he,
A brown woman.
yeah, and
Yeah.
her older father,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
That's
so it's like one of those where it was like, well, I mean, there wasn't even a choice in my head. Whereas in my head, there might be a choice of, somebody saying, "Oh, but could you make me that dish that takes 12 hours?" I might be like, "Should I make it?" You know what I mean? Like it to me, there's different boundaries. Like if somebody's picking on somebody, easy to go in as the neutral party and go, "No, no, not right." Right?
it's not it's not personal then, right? It's objective. Do you know that I take those out in post production? Those I know the I try to take that out. I edit that out. For
That's
me.
very good. Now there's a bee in our house and Scruffy's chasing it.
Huh?
There's a big fat bee in our house. Scruffy.
Oh.
It's okay. He'll stop.
Okay. Yes, I'm aware.
But yeah, I do. I think that's a lot of work for you to take out. I'd let them listen to them.
Well, I let them listen to yours.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's why everybody's like, Roxanne, you're so smart. So also, like, if you're setting boundaries, you are protecting your nervous system. You're protecting your energy. You're protecting your time. And for me, that helps me to reframe the boundary, because then it's not like, hey, you're stepping over a line. It's like, hang on for a second. It's my job to protect these elements of my life, right? And or to place them. And I guess it's the framing for me, is because when I started thinking about it, I'd be like, what the hell, man? What are you doing? And now it's like, hang on for a second. If I want to keep my space safe, I've got to make the rules clear. Right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I find it really, really interesting. Like I think you've had more guests come to your mermaid's cottage than you did when you lived in Creekside. You've
Nobody
had more
ever came
guests,
out to Cultus.
and you've lived there for less than 6 months.
Yep.
I can't believe the number of people you've stayed there. I would just like to point out to our audience, I have visited, but I have not stayed there. I will soon, but not yet.
Yep. They stayed at a very nice hotel and then really never went there.
That's right. We just slept there. We just came over and messed up your house. But
anytime there are sweet cheeks.
All right, I can do that. Yeah, it's the idea of I have to say, the idea of boundaries and connecting it with personal power was something that was a new concept to me as an adult. I probably only started thinking about that as maybe a 40, maybe a 50-year-old, like that was just something that I was not, this wasn't part of my life. It's your life this is how it works.
Yep.
And, I changed some of those rules. And that's when the idea of autonomy became like, oh, that's a thing. You could have that.
Right.
I'm like, oh, how do I get that? You set boundaries.
And how do I get it without it making me defensive or pulling back or bitchy, right? But the other thing, so think, you grew up and you grew up in an evangelical community, which is, there are lots of rules not made by you, right?
Yeah.
So then you get married and have children, and you got no boundaries with children because you can't.
Nope.
Right? Like the fact is, they need you. That's how it's going to go. And not that you're not setting boundaries for them, but they have you for.
Oh yeah, there's no time for anything else.
And then you sort of hit that stage where they're growing up and finding their own way. And I do have to say, I'm a little relieved you didn't say, oh yeah, I found boundaries when I moved next door to you, right? Because you made me find them. But the other side of that is
Definitely helped.
it's come. No, I because I kept coming over, and you're like, no, it's
No.
4 a.m. Go home. But all of a sudden, then you're in this part of your life where need isn't making the decision. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Right?
that's
Like
right.
demand from little kids,
Mhm.
demand from,
Yeah.
I was complaining earlier about dogs and always needing help, but all of a sudden it's like, I could say no.
It's a different space when especially when you have, children fairly close together. There's a period of time where you're just glad to get your socks on the right feet, and there's no time for personal growth. There's no time for any of that stuff. However, I will say it was raising my kids that first alerted me to the whole idea of boundaries because I'm going to be me. So I'm pregnant and I'm learning about child development. I want to learn what are the developmental stages of growth. How do you, and I read books on, child rearing throughout. And now of course they're adults. So now I read about different books, but it's, largely about how do I navigate this?
Okay, wait, can we just go back to this? Because I know the book you're reading right now is How to Spot a Serial Killer or How to Spot a Sociopath.
I'm pretty sure I haven't raised a serial killer. We'll get to the end and I'll let you know.
I meant in general out in the world, not the girls. Because I was going to say, you clearly modeled something for them that was innate in you.
I guess.
Because they are all strong women with strong boundaries. And that's not just because they're of a different generation. That's because someone modeled it for them.
Thank you. I think that's true. And I do, like there have been some challenging times. I mean, I always say, teach your kids to have a voice and teach them to stand up for themselves and then brace yourself because it's going to come back to you. Right. Yeah. Which is exactly how it works. And I recall times when our kids set boundaries that were painful for me, but there were, extenuating circumstances. I recognized it though as a boundary and just said, well, this is my time to pull back or respect that. And whatever happens in the future has nothing to do with now as long as I respect that boundary. And you are an autonomous human being. And I think like even from, I remember the tantrums. I remember the, jacking the kid into the car seat. Oh, no, you're going in. Sorry. Yeah. You don't get to put a boundary there. Yeah. Those are challenging times. But that's when I watched the idea of this is an individual person. This is a person with agency. How do I help them develop that as they grow? Yeah. And as I help them develop it, I also learned it myself,
Right. But I think you said something there. Like, I think the fact that you were self-aware enough, but also externally aware enough to see, oh, this is a boundary and I have a decision to make here, because the other side is and I've heard this from friends who had more like hovering helicopter parents that wanted their life to be a certain way, right? And it's like the kids are all older now, and it's like, I come home sometimes and the parent there lives in the same city, and it's like, you know what, my mom's been here, and they like, and she came in and she did the dishes and she moved something, right? And it's like, don't do this. And it's like, well, my first thing was, the boundary I'd set is give me the key back. But the flip side to that is some have had help from their parents in perhaps purchasing their first house. So there's a string attached to it, and that string makes the boundary complicated.
That's a really good point. And I'm fortunate to say that we're not set up to help our children in such a way. We've helped our children, but that's not going to happen. You buy your own house, honey.
But I think
absolutely,
like that makes it makes it a bit murky.
Totally. It absolutely does. And I can see that. And that's a really good point. Anytime there's money involved, boundaries are going to be challenging. So that's employer, employee, there's money involved, right? Yeah. Client, provider, whatever, there's money involved. There's that also adds a layer because it's a level of power. Yeah. Right.
But that, or like relationships. Now my parents are both gone, but and Paul's parents live far away. It's a little different, but I do have friends that are like, oh, it's every Sunday, right? I have to go for dinner. Or
Mm.
it's, you know, my parents expect us to always come here at holidays, and you know, either they have a partner and they want to go somewhere else. But like it's like figuring out how to do that, because then there's a layer of guilt. Oh, you're not coming. Right?
Oh, I mean, any therapist you're going to tell you will tell you that the holidays are their biggest,
Oh, for
busiest
sure.
time, and most people are struggling because that's when the boundary issues come out.
Sorry, I'm going to have some boundary issues with my dog, who's thinking about going
What is
on
he doing?
on the you know, the little table behind the
Oh,
couch.
oh,
Who's
he is
thinking
on it.
about
That's
having a
right.
party there. Yeah.
Um, I remember having some challenging boundaries around those things when we first moved back to British Columbia, because this was my husband's hometown, right? I
Right.
didn't have any family here at the time, and he did, and his parents were very glad to have him back, and so we had to work around that. And he, you know, he will say that that's when he had a very clear impression in his head about how, oh, who am I now? Am I primarily a son, or am I primarily a husband and a father?
Right.
Which one am I? And it was more his journey, I think, than mine, because I'm like, I'm the spouse, I'm the in-law here, so you
Right.
kind of set the stage, kind of
Right.
set the
But again, you know, those kind of boundaries, and it's a funny thing, because it sounds like it's nothing, but it really is, because I am a big believer that there is a certain personality type. If you give them an inch, they want a mile,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so
yeah,
those boundaries are, to me, more important for some. And then there are other people that it's like you really don't need any boundaries, because they're just like, yeah, that word, like there's too easy. They're more easygoing than you
mhm,
would expect,
yeah,
right? You know what
yeah.
I mean? And that's one of those. And then there's, for the most part, it's people in the middle that, you know, have their quirks.
Do you have people in your life who are the kind that will agree to something and then not follow through? Because I
Right.
wonder if that's a people pleasing thing where, you know, I want to set a boundary, but I can't. So I'm going to agree to something and then just not do it. And I know I've been guilty. I think I'm
Yeah.
much better about that now, but I've definitely been guilty of
Yeah.
that in the past, where my reluctance to set a firm boundary up front has led me to then do a sideways dishonest boundary,
Yeah.
right? Which isn't
Right.
fair to anyone.
Like a little passive aggressive, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
kind of.
Sure. I can, if I can, I'll make it. If I can, I'll make
Yeah.
it, you know, and then you just don't show up.
But
You know,
that feels more honest than, oh, absolutely. Right.
mhm.
That, which
Yeah.
also, but the other thing is, or it's like, oh yeah, let's do this thing, and I'll do this and this and this. In 3 days, it's like, oh, I just got too busy and I won't make it.
You
Right.
know, what just occurred to me now as we were talking was the idea of honesty as being really, really vital to this whole process,
Yeah.
right? And
And you can have respectful or compassionate or gentle honesty,
mhm.
still honesty, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
say, I don't want to. You could say, you know what, that's not really, you know, it's not my thing.
But if we've been taught and, you know, in socialized and whatever, to please others, to deny ourselves and please
Mhm.
others, self-denial being everything, then we might not have any idea how to do it otherwise,
Right.
right?
And that's where like books like the one I'm about to, for
Yeah.
me anyway, come in, or podcasts, or you know, decades of therapy. But the other side is once you start to frame it to yourself, is I am not being true to myself or true to this relationship,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
and for me, I can talk myself out of true to myself, right? Like it's like, oh, but they
Talk to
really need
yourself.
it.
Say that
I can
again?
talk myself out of true to myself,
Oh,
because it's
yes.
like, but they really need it or whatever. But it's like I'm
Yes.
not being true to this relationship because I'm not being my authentic self,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like if
Yeah.
somebody said, well, now I would say it, but if somebody, you know, before said, oh, let's go out dancing, I actually, that's not true. I would say I'll go with you, but I'm not dancing.
You've said that to
Right.
me.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like it's instead now, and I mean, you get better at it, I think, as at least I hope you do get better as you age. But it's one of those where it's like back in the day, it would be like, sure, I'll go, and then I would dread it for the next 3 weeks, right? Which sucks the joy out of those 3 weeks too.
If you really don't want to do something and you agree to do it, you either need a powerful motivation inside yourself, some kind of payoff for that, or there's going to be a huge price to pay. And that idea right there, what you said, like living 2 weeks in dread of something, if it's a goal, if you're like, no, I want to get over my fear of dancing or my phobia or whatever, that's different.
Or I want to try new things, right?
But if this is like, no, I already have tried this, don't like it, don't want to do this for whatever reason. If it's not your thing, then that's what you have to honor.
But you know what? And that's where our friend Pink Beverly is very good. Like some of the events
she's really good
in the community is like, I forget what it was. It was something. I think it might have been like the hoedown or something. And it was like, oh, a bunch of us going, are you going to go? And she's like, no, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And like for me, that was like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because okay. Right. Like, what do you say to that? No, I want you to go. And it's like, well, then that flips the script. And it's like, why would I be so selfish to get somebody to go something I don't want to go to?
Exactly. Then it becomes about your need, not what she wants.
Yeah.
And that's an absolutely different calculation. If you want to say to somebody, look, I know you really hate this thing, but for XYZ reasons, I would love for you to be there if you think you can handle it. That's a different.
And it is different, but I also think it's
that can be manipulative then.
But the other side is like, it might be a friendship favor. It's like, I really don't want to go alone. Right.
Yes.
Come with me.
Yes.
Right. Like that's a different thing if you're being, you have that two-way relationship where that person could do it too. Because nothing is worse than somebody who's like always come to you and said, come with me. I don't want to go alone. Come with me. I need support. Come with me. I need a wing person. And then all of a sudden you ask them to go and they go, nah.
No.
Right. Because it's got to be like, you get overdrawn at the boundaries bank for me, right? Like it's like, okay, so you don't respect mine, but I've got to respect yours. That doesn't work.
Yeah. No, that's well, and I think that's part of how of what we, kind of where we started, the idea that self-denial, if self-denial is asked of you before self-definition has occurred, then you don't even know what it is that you're saying, right? So you have to understand what it is that you want, what you love, what you care about, what matters to you before you can put up boundaries around it. So if you've never been encouraged to do that, if you don't even know that you like dancing or don't like dancing, how can you say that you're going to do a thing or not do a thing, right?
How do you know if you don't like dancing? Unless you were brought up in, what's that thing? What's that?
Footloose.
Footloose. Unless you were brought up in Footloose. And they all wanted to dance because they weren't allowed.
Yes.
But I think that's just it. And I think there's a journey of self-discovery there that I think because you and I are twin flames when it comes to therapy is important and we've done it for years, right? Is that kind of thing. But I think there's a journey of self-discovery there of here's what I'm okay with. Here's what I'm not. And then you have to like almost step by step, because all of a sudden randomly setting a bunch of boundaries is going to make your head explode. Yeah. Right. You have to find the way to do it. But also like there are times when I have to admit, it's like you try to set boundaries, This dog is crazy, just saying. and then they never, ever listen. And so finally you end up ghosting them. Right. Because it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
None of this is working.
And sometimes that's the only response that will end up working, because it's who do you have but yourself? You have yourself. You have to protect yourself. We all have to protect ourselves.
That's just it. And I think there's all sorts of ways, as long as you do it. And even, talking, it's here. I think it's reasonable to say to somebody, oh, you know what? I think that's totally up your alley. It's not for me. Right?
Yeah, there's kind ways of saying things. Yeah. There's kind ways of expressing yourself that have to do with centering it on your feelings, your needs, as opposed to their feelings. And I think that's I've got a practical takeaway here, and it's, if this is you, the work isn't to become hard or to shut people out. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to find ways to shut people out. It's to rebuild trust with ourselves. Because if you don't have boundaries, what you've done is you've allowed other people to violate your needs. Yeah. And if you don't even know what your needs are or what you value, that's going to happen all the time. And you're going to feel sick.
Okay. And that's a good point. And the thing is, being able to recognize and be responsible whenever you realize that oh, this isn't for me. And I mean, unless it's going to cost somebody $1 million, because you've already bought plane tickets and done all this stuff, I think it's okay to go back and say, you know what, I don't think this is for me, but here's a solution for it. Like, let's say you were going, let's say you were trying to get me, let's say you got me to buy a ticket, I don't know, to go see, let's say Paul got me to buy a ticket to some heavy, heavy metal band, and I did it just to be kind to him. I think once I realized that I was dreading going, the onus is then on me to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to call your buddy Jake and see if he wants my ticket, because you'd have more fun with him. And I won't have fun. You know what I mean? Like I think even if you've said yes to something, as long as it's not going to really screw somebody up, right? It's okay. And then even if it's going to screw them up, I think it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to do this because I committed, right? Because that is, for me, that's a value, right? If I say I'm going to do something and somebody needs me to do it, I'm going to do it. But then it's like, but I'm not going to do this again.
Right.
Like, and I think that, and I don't like the word empower, but the empower, like it gives me agency. Then I can go to the thing knowing I never have to do it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if you, and if that doesn't work, or if you decide, well, I don't want to do this, depending on the relationship, you can look at that and say, okay, this person extended a thing to me, wants me to do this, but what does this represent? It represents this person wants to have time with me doing a thing that is important to them. Yes. But it doesn't have to be that concert. Right. It could be something else. So that's maybe when you would offer, like, oh, well, let's take this trip here. Let's go see this brewery, or let's go find something.
We'll find something else.
We'll find something. Paul likes history, like you could say, I'll go to a museum with you, and you would go to a museum with him, just like you would go to a museum with me.
I would go, but then I'll leave after you people want to, like after a few hours, I'm going to go sit and people watch, and you people can do what you want. Because after 3 hours, I'm bored.
You can order us beer. I love music.
Exactly. Or wine, depending. But the other side, when it becomes to that emotional thing, like I think about the, what if somebody wanted me, and we don't have many people that are really religious, but what if somebody, wanted me to go to a service, an experience or something, like, and it was, or wanted to have a big conversation where, let's say somebody wanted to have a big conversation about God. I am happy to have that conversation with somebody who isn't trying to convert me. That's where my boundary has to be, right?
Yes.
Is I am happy to hear what you see.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. Right. So that's got to be the clear boundary for me. It's like, I'm happy to listen to why it matters to you. Don't try to make it matter to me, man.
That's a conversation between equals.
Yeah.
But if one is saying, well, I have a thing and you need it, and I need to impose this upon you because I believe this is really important, well, then their need supersedes everything else.
And I believe I'm right is what the subtext there is.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah. And it's the same if somebody said, oh, I think people should be married before they have children. And it's like, well, then don't have children before you get married. Like,
totally.
Fill your boots, man.
Yep.
But don't tell me or anybody around me that we have to live like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or what,
yeah.
I don't think, I don't believe in gay marriage, which is funny because gay marriage isn't real. It's a fact. But the other side of that is like, then don't marry the same sex.
Yeah, I know.
Right? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I think you're stupid, but also I don't actually care what you think.
Well, and this idea of, well, I believe or don't believe in a thing, and therefore, that makes it true or not true. Well, you can not believe in gravity all you like. And then
still true.
You step off a building, you're still going to splat.
But that's just it, right? Like
it doesn't matter. Your beliefs are irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Beliefs. Like that's just it. And you can have an opinion based on fact. Or you can have an opinion based on your beliefs. And those are two different things, right? Like
they sure are. Yeah.
It's like, and you can see if there's if somebody's writing, nonfiction and they're writing something and it's about their beliefs, which is an opinion column. But if it's not based in fact, you go, right? There's nothing there for me to take away because you're just having a fever dream.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if it's based in fact, and it's something that I have a differing perspective on, and I might go, I never thought about it that way. But there's a fact there to base, you can shift my perception or my opinion because you've given me a fact in a different context, right?
Yeah.
And,
which is fascinating. And that's often what will change something from a thing that didn't interest you, or you weren't, at all, you very against it or whatever. As soon as you find some new information about it, then you've got more to work with.
But that's just it. You're further informed. I mean, honestly, most of the work we do is exactly that. Is we're not trying to convince anybody. We're trying to inform them so they can make an informed decision, right? They can make an informed thing. And that's where I think, the difference of sort of serious communications and what people think of as spin is serious communications is informing people so they can make a decision based on actual evidence.
Yeah.
Whereas spin is like, I'm going to tell you to look over here. Don't look over there. Right.
Yeah.
Is like that. But I also think it's like, once you've decided you're going to set some boundaries, you have to be consistent. And I expect, as you're training Neo right now.
Yes.
You had children, right? Consistency is everything.
It's a great example. I mean, I go to class and the trainer says, "So, what did you work on this week?" And I remember that there was one entire behavior that we forgot to touch on. And if you don't practice it, it doesn't happen, But the things that I practice with him, he learns them. And then it, the more you do it, the more that neural pathway gets embedded in your brain. And I heard a great insult just today. It was like, "Are you that smooth-brained to believe this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a good one, smooth-brained."
Yeah.
Because our brains are very,
But that's just it. And so there's actually, and that just twigged me because I saw a meme and I had to Google it because I didn't understand it. And I think there's a derogatory reference in some video games if like you're being foolish, and they'll say, "What are you, a smooth brain?" And it's like some smooth brain bot, right?
Okay.
That doesn't think, right? And it's like, "Oh my God, are you a smooth brain?" Right?
I love it.
Right? But that's just it.
You just bought a smoothie machine. May not be related at all. I don't know.
Slushie.
Okay.
Slushie. So I'm a slush, not a smooth. I'm a slushy brain. I think that's a good.
That sounds like a fun way to live, actually.
Yeah, or incredibly dangerous.
I have a great little thing here. It says, if setting a boundary makes you feel like a terrible person, congratulations. You're probably doing something new and necessary and really hard. And that deserves credit. And also, we're here to say it gets easier and that wine helps. Or Frosés. Yes.
Frosés. But you know what? But the other thing is, like, there is something to the fight, like not drunk alcohol, but having a drink, right, is not always like, and even if if like you're going to set a boundary, have a drink or a gummy or whatever you do, and write the thing. Don't send it until you can read it again, but get it out of you, because sometimes you do have to be able to say, "I need to tell you how I'm feeling."
Yeah.
And for many years, including me, although I bet you there are people that would disagree with that, that's where I had a hard time. It's like, here's how I feel. Here's what I need. Right.
Yeah.
And I think if you can find something, and whether that's yoga or going for a run or having a glass of wine or a gummy, is just being able to say, "I need to get this out of me authentically," and not have my social or my "Oh, you can't do that," or or have this
your conditioning
in your head, right? The conditioning plays where it's like, you can't say that.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion, and it's one that my therapist and my artificial therapist has also, said. And this is not far off Tara Lori's burn your shit stuff, right?
Yep.
It's like expressing it, and it doesn't even have to be to someone else. What it has to be is you identifying your own things, and this is what it all
and pushing it out.
And pushing it out and getting it so that you can then look at it. It's outside of you and you can look at it. And this is, we keep coming back full circle to this idea of knowing yourself and what you value and what matters to you. And journaling, writing it out and then burning it, whatever.
Or doing little baby steps. if somebody says, and this is one of the things I've used, especially when it comes to client work and that, let me think about that.
Oh, taking a
Give
pause.
yourself
Yeah.
some space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's a new one for me too, because I'm very used to reacting. And I will say this is something probably beneficial about the kinds of communication that we have gotten into since social media came about, right? Is you may not encounter these boundary possibly violating situations in person. It might happen over social media or texting or messaging or whatever. And then you have that opportunity to wait, right? To just look at it and be like,
And breathe.
Some people are really good off the cuff. I'm better now than I was, but I am by far more coherent, cogent, aware, much less likely to violate my own boundaries if I take a step back, think about something, and then respond.
Yeah. No, and I think that's important
generally
because,
smart.
Because that snap judgment, first of all, it's like, I know it's not your lizard brain, but that's what it feels like. It's your people pleaser, whatever immediately comes out, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you sit over there, we'll talk, right? And then there's the, straight up, I'm not doing that, which can come across as rude, right? And you don't want to do that either, because for the most part, I don't think people that are pushing your boundaries are doing it maliciously.
Right.
I think either they have their own set of issues and stuff, and even and we all have those people in our lives that lay on the guilt. I'm not 100% sure that many of them even realize how much guilt they're trying to lay on you. Like, I think that's
100%.
unconscious, right?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you look at it with compassion.
That's it. I think you have to have as much compassion for them as you do yourself.
Yeah.
And that's to take it back to the religious world that I grew up in, it's love your neighbor as yourself. That means you have to love yourself.
Right. But that's just it, right?
You have to love yourself first.
The missing element.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you have to know yourself.
Those are good sort of takeaways, is you don't have to do it all overnight.
Nope.
Even if the first thing you do is start to, and you have to, for me, I have to practice it, right? I have to run scenarios in my head and be like, when somebody says something, say, you know what, I'm going to think about that. Let me get back to you. And
you're really good. I think your training, coming out with key messages, like, you're amazing at that. And you've learned it. It's been part of your life forever.
But there's a science to key messages too, right? So there's a fellow, and that it's all boring, like, industry crap, but there's a fellow that has studied, and he studied high risk communication and what people will actually take in when they're stressed, right? Or when they're anxious, like when they're feeling something, right? And it's how often you have to say it, it's how you have to say it, and simple is better. Nobody remembers if you go on for 5 minutes. If you say, you know what, that's really not for me. Like if I said, oh, you know what, I've never liked to dance and I really don't want to, and my feet hurt, and you know what, I kind of have a bad back, and all you hear is rejection. If I said, you know what, that's really not for me, but why don't we go for a walk? Right?
Yeah.
It's one of those where it's like, because we're all rationalizing why we're setting the boundary. You also don't have to. You can say, nah, you know what, thanks, but not for me. Or
and a lot of
people with that.
Exactly. And a lot of that will come from the cues that your body gives you. Right. My body gives me very clear cues, and I ignored them for decades. And now I know when I get that cinched up feeling in my stomach, that means, ooh, okay, something's really not right here. I need to step away. I don't know why, but somehow I'm not safe right now.
Right.
For some reason I'm not safe.
That's a key word. And I think one of the things I've learned from you, and I've seen you employ this, is to be able to say, I think I see that from a different perspective, or I see that differently. And I think you can say, if somebody's like, if they're pushing you on it, it's like, I appreciate, how important this is to you, but I see it differently. It's not that important to me. And I'm glad it's important to you, and I'll support you. Not here.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen you say, I see that a bit differently. And I think that's really important, because it eases into like, hey, we're not on the same page here.
Right. And yet it doesn't put up a hard boundary that says we're not talking about this.
Yeah.
And you know,
And also it doesn't blame them. Like it doesn't
Exactly.
make them feel blamed anyway.
Yes.
Is what I'm,
It's not coming out and saying you're full of shit, you're wrong,
Yeah.
like shut up. You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
say that exactly. And
Yeah.
and I mean, for the most part, I mean, I come back to, I believe most people are good most of the time.
Yeah.
I believe most people don't mean to be malicious. I think most people want the best for themselves and those around them. I really believe that. I also believe that
there most people, including, you know, at least me, you're like a little angel, but are also, we're self-motivated. We spend all this time in our own heads thinking
Yes.
about our things.
Yes.
Right? Like self-motivated isn't necessarily bad, right? If you're
No.
too self-motivated, if you never take it in, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's
Right?
different.
But like we spend all our times in our own head.
It's
Right?
it's most things are not personal. When somebody does, you know, even if someone violates a boundary or pushes against you somehow and
Yeah.
you're forced to erect a boundary, it's probably not about you. It's probably about them and their needs, as opposed to you and whatever the messages that you're getting. It has
Yeah.
very little to do with us, in fact.
But that's, and if you see it that way, like I do remember, you know, when, and not the people that, you know, put in their orders and invited people I didn't know to my house, but like there'd be people who would say, oh, could you make, and it would be one thing, right? Could you make this? And for the most part, what I take from that is like, oh, you need somebody to fuss over you. Like you just need somebody to make it like it's like you are special. And but what I'm hearing is you need somebody to show you that you're special. You know what I mean? Like it can't just be, oh, I know they love me, I know they like me, whatever. It's like when somebody says something, sometimes it's like, oh, and my grandmother used to say, sometimes you just need somebody to make a fuss over you. Right? And sometimes they're telling you that. They're not trying to cross your boundaries. They're telling me what they need, right?
And you're so good at that, you know, and you've set that up. So, you know, the challenge for you then probably is to, how much can you give? How much and when can you give it, and under what circumstances?
And to who?
And to whom?
Because
Yes.
social media lets you share big, right?
Yeah.
And so there are people that have a different perspective, perhaps, of what our relationship might be. And it's not that you're not friendly and all of this, but because social media makes people feel like they know more than they know.
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
there's a thing where it's kind of like you have a friendly acquaintance, and this hasn't happened for a while, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we did have somebody one time, and it was, we had a cool, our 2-car garage was turned into a bar, right? It was called the Naked Cowboy. And we did have somebody, they had come to all the neighborhood parties where we lived on the Sunshine Coast. And at one point came up and said, oh, you know, I want to hold my sister, cousin, friend's birthday here. Would that be okay? Like, you know, we'll bring our food and booze, which would be typical for me. And I was like, no, because you got to use my bathroom and you're going to use my kitchen. Right? This isn't a shed we had out in the back 40. It's a garage.
This isn't a venue, sir.
Yeah. And it's like, and it wasn't like if you said, hey, I want to come and use the mermaid's cottage for a baby shower, be like, I'm all in. But the thing is, you wouldn't say that. And it was like this person who I'd probably never been to their house. And they're like, hey, could I bring 25 people here in 3 Sundays from now? And it was like,
nope. Go rent a hall, honey.
But like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing where, and I don't think they saw anything wrong with asking, because they saw it as a fun place. Right?
Yeah.
And I was happily hosting people. Oh, this dog is crazy. I'm telling you, man. Like all he's doing is running around the house.
He's circling.
Stuffy has no boundaries, man.
Yeah. You know, it's a thing about dogs.
Yeah.
But you know, so if you put up a boundary there, he probably wouldn't think twice about that. Oh, okay, I'll go ask someone else, right?
Yeah.
Because for some people that would be a reasonable thing to ask and it wouldn't hurt them. But how did you respond to that? Like, how did you respond to that?
What are you, fucking nuts?
But what did you say to him?
That's what I said.
That's what you said?
And it was her.
I love it.
It was at a party and I might have had wine. And also it was like, the first thing that flashed through my head, me being me, is like, there's going to be 20 or 25 people here I don't know, and they're going to be in my house.
No.
Right. But that's just it. So it was like, it just was like, you crazy?
Yeah. I love
Right?
it. I love it.
But that
And
was like, that was one that went way too far for me. Right.
Oh, for sure.
You know, I love people, and I really love it when they come, and I love it when we have parties and do all the things.
And you love it even
20
more?
minutes before they actually start to leave, I'm like, when are you going to leave?
Get out, get out, get out.
Right. And
Yeah.
it was like, but I think my response was like, that boundary was so real to me that I had to protect. Like, that wasn't even a think it through, Ruth. It was like, and I'm pretty sure I said, are you fucking kidding me? Where are they going to go to the bathroom?
And that's perfect, right? Because you're adding humor to it. You're showing the ridiculousness of this statement. And it probably wasn't a serious request. It was, it might have been
serious, man.
But
you know what? There's a whole being, like, there's a whole set of beings out there that are just going to ask in case you say yes.
For sure they will.
Right.
And they can maybe, you know, like, if they have that grain of embarrassment potential in them, they might then be able to shrug it off as, oh, I wasn't really serious, you know, or whatever.
Right. But
what if you say yes? Well, then they get a free venue, right?
But that's just it. But the other side of that is I think there are some people that have a layer of entitlement, and I don't mean it like, you know, privilege or anything like that, but it's kind of like, it'll be fun. Why wouldn't you?
Of course.
But these are also the people I have to say. Again, I'm pretty sure I was never in that person's house. So it's kind of like, right? It's a little bit like, so you've never had us over there, so you clearly have boundaries or something.
Yeah.
But they have none over here. So their boundaries are different. Like, it's like the people who are like, you know, they come to a lawn sale and they're like, do you have this pair of shoes in a size 9? And like, it's not a store. And they're like, well, you know, it's $1. Would you take 50 cents? But if you did that to them, they'd be like, and it's like, kind of like, you're just trying to get rid of crap. But it's like, not a store. I don't have a size 9. But the other thing is you're going to fight me for 50 cents. Right? But if you went to their lawn sale, the prices would be $200. Let's talk about the one thing that people could take away and do. And mine would be practice saying, let me think about that. That's a big first step.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, listen to your body. Listen to take the time to not react, but to say, oh, okay, what's that feeling in my stomach? What's my breathing doing? What's my heart rate doing?
And don't immediately listen to what your mind tells you.
Yes.
Right? Listen to your body, because your body's not going to lie to you. And there's a bunch of liars in my head. I don't know about anybody else, but they're like, they're going to think you're bad. Oh my God, you're a bad friend. Oh my God, what about
you can make that work? Of course you can make that work. Come on, what's wrong with you? How come you're so selfish?
But I think that's a good one. Listen to your body, right? Yeah. And even if you have to walk away and listen to your body, sit and go, do I want to? Is this reasonable? One of the other things is, ask yourself, is this request reasonable?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And reasonable to you.
But that's exactly, it's all within the context of you, not to the person.
Yeah.
Because the request, like to use the naked cowboy, might have been reasonable to that person, right? Right. But is it reasonable? And I think those are really big steps forward, because then it opens the door to, oh, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and also you don't judge yourself by whatever standards around you is, because is it reasonable to you? Right.
Yep. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, I can't wait to hear what people think about this, because I think boundary setting is such a common challenge for everybody, and especially women, right? And we're all learning how to do it better.
Yeah.
We fail and then we try again, and
I think as long as you learn from it, right? And also, you know, work on some ways to say, you know, I said yes to that. And I think I was going against what I really felt. I think I convinced myself, and it's okay to do that too, and say, you know what, I thought about this and it's not going to work. Again, as long as you haven't bought like business class plane tickets somewhere, because that would really mess somebody up. But even then, it depends how badly your body's reacting, right?
Well, and you know what? Every time that happens, it's probably because you agreed too quickly.
Yeah.
You didn't take that beat. You didn't take that time. You didn't ask yourself the questions you needed to. You didn't listen to your body.
Yeah.
So you can cut
Right.
out a lot of potential, heartache and
Yeah.
inconvenience.
No immediate response.
Yeah.
Let me think about that.
Let me think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Such
Yeah.
a good one. Such a
Yeah.
good one.
Okay,
Okay, so
what do you got?
let's go to gratefuls. Is that where
Okay,
you were
let's
going?
hear it. Yes. Let's
What
hear
am
it.
I am grateful for a husband who cooks even though he doesn't particularly like cooking because he's making supper right now.
Oh, that's
I mean,
awesome. And what are you
I got
having?
it mostly ready for him, but you know.
What are you having?
Oh, we're having it's a fresh prep meal and it is stuffed chicken breast with like cream cheese and spinach and
Ooh,
stuff. It's
you're
delicious.
fancy.
Yeah, we've had this one before with rice and green beans, which I love.
Okay,
So
just for the record, my dog's trying to go on the table again. Hey,
it really is.
down here, because somebody probably walked by outside.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
probably.
that dog.
Probably.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
are you grateful for? Well, first of all, what are you having for supper?
Well, we're having there's a restaurant in New York City that's got like months long, probably a year long wait list, and it's called Carbona. I think I'll double check it, but
Ooh.
they have a vodka rosé sauce
Oh,
that and somebody did like a knockoff
okay.
recipe for it. So we're going to have that tonight.
Ooh.
So and it's shockingly easy.
I love vodka sauce. I mean, it's
Right?
basically, vodka, tomato,
Yeah,
whatever, and
yeah, and cream.
crap ton of cream.
Yeah, but I'll have to send you because this is shockingly easy. But you and I'll share it on the resources. But it's like you get the best tomato paste you can get, and there's one that comes in a tube, and it's
Oh,
made with tomato paste, right?
oh,
Like it's real. It's honestly, it's really good. It's shockingly good,
well,
right?
that sounds delicious.
So now I'm grateful we're having that. But you know what? I'm grateful that we can talk about these topics that are affecting us all, but that we
Mhm.
can dig into it a bit so that we walk away with some learnings, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I hope people will come in and comment or even message us directly if they don't want to comment sort of on the
Mhm.
Facebook
Mhm.
page or anything, but just tell us about what learnings they have, because it would be nice to carry this forward. And it's like maybe do a blog post about here's something that some of the
Mhm.
communities say, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Is because we're all still struggling with all these things,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And I don't think ever before, certainly in the United States, have our boundaries in many ways been so clearly violated
Yeah.
where we
Oh
have
my
to
gosh.
we have to really think about this and we have to really
Yeah. Well,
identify our
and the
values.
boundaries of others, and not in the,
Mhm.
I don't want you to bring 25 people into my garage
Right.
stuff, but like the human rights of it,
Yes.
like the boundaries there are they're about life and death,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they're about, you know, bottom level surviving versus being able to thrive, right? Being
Mhm.
seen as like, and that's just it. And I think that's why it's been in my head a lot lately
Mhm.
is at what point do all of us stand up and say no?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I think that's the bottom line. That's the ultimate boundary, right?
Yeah.
It's for everyone to say, look we choose autonomy, we choose democracy.
But that's just it. Yeah, we choose equity and equal rights,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I mean, I hope in November in their elections that's helpful. My biggest worry is that this is a rogue administration, and
Mhm.
like they just do, like they went to war. They're at war.
There it were.
They're not supposed to do that, but everybody went along with it,
Yeah. It's against
right?
the
Like
law, but that doesn't matter.
but that's just it. Like, so, and
Yep.
then you get these, I mean, this is just my little rant, but you get Trump saying what he knows there's cameras in the room, and he's saying, well, I can't call it war because Congress has to approve that. So we're calling, well, and just for the record, he's supposed to say incursion, but he keeps saying it's an
I
excursion.
know. I know. This isn't a vacation.
That's just it. It's like, it's
Ugh.
not a food tour, man.
Oh man. I know. It drives me batty to hear them
Well,
use
it's
that
like
word.
just the wrong use of the word, but the wrong use in this context,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And it's just so friggin' stupid.
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 But
Anyway.
although sorry, the other funny thing, and I'm going to find a few to put in our resources, which will probably get us in trouble with people. There's a whole bunch of little videos out there that people are saying it's because he's incontinent, right? And you can see people's faces, and they're like, all of a sudden, you realize he's pooped his pants.
Oh my God.
I'm going to send them to you because, like, there's a really mean girl part of me Like the president's pooping his pants and it smells. Anyway, so we're gonna see. The other thing I'm grateful for is we're gonna have dinner with you and Ray.
That's right. That's right.
So
I'll
that's a
take
good
my
one.
luck.
So Roxanne, what do we want more of?
We want more happy hours. Ruth, what do we want less of?
We want less bullshit, and I think your more is we want more better boundaries. More better?
Mm-hmm.
We
More
want
better boundaries.
More better boundaries.
Better
I'm gonna
work.
get that tattooed somewhere.
Better
More better
work.
boundaries.